Alright, video do-over because FaceTime is all fucked up, so I'm gonna kind of zoom through this because I hate doing video do-overs. Okay, so this one's from Martin R. Cruz, Martino007. Hi Kyle, how are you? Next video request, can you please talk about how the economy in the USA and other countries in the world can improve within the next 10 to 20 years, depending on how it's going at this time? Thanks. Okay, yes, I did this a couple days ago, and then I had to delete it because all my videos got thrown in together and I couldn't tell which was which. Fucking iMovie idiots. Piss me off. And I'm using iMovie now, so I have to make sure to do all those zillions of steps you have to do. You gotta export it, import it to the folder, and then you gotta go back, you gotta delete it off of FaceTime so that you know that the new video is not gonna get thrown in there. Okay, so the economy in the USA and other countries in the world can improve within the next 20 years. Yeah, see, we're getting into a point in the economy where we're going to transfer. We're going to have to convert our economy from a meat and bones economy, digging stuff out of the earth economy, to a service-based economy that is sustainable. Getting an economy based off digging stuff off the earth. That's not sustainable. We had a economic collapse back in 2008. Started from the housing crisis, from people giving all these loans to people who they knew they couldn't pay them back because the loans were too high, because they were making money off of that, and then they knew when they couldn't pay them back, they'd just get bailed out by the taxpayer money. So it was like double whammy money. And and the banker guys, it was like, yeah, they didn't even get in trouble. They keep making their money, and so that caused a worldwide recession. And so the answer to that recession was the people getting money off of oil. They just dug for more oil to make more money for themselves, and so we started all the fracking in America, which is causing big time problems, man. Really screwing up the groundwater all over Oklahoma and Texas, man. Like, if we keep doing it, those places might be like wildlife sanctuaries in 50 years. Because the only place you can drink water would be right out of the tops of the streams. But because there's springs too, and springs can contaminate even groundwater. But anyway, and then Russia started drilling their asses off. And they've got oil all over the place. And we have good technology now, where you can refine crappy oil, and there's tons of that all over. And I think the Middle East started drilling more, so then they started undercutting each other, and so now oil got chopped in half, and so it's kind of like a temporary fix. But so the way, but that's coinciding with more and more electric cars. You have the Tesla and all these other electric Geo hybrid or whatever, and they have these electric power stations around. So that's going to reduce demand for oil, and all the extra drilling that's going to continue. So oil prices are going to stay low forever. From here on out, they're going to stay low, in my opinion, because the demand's going to bottom out pretty soon once we really get going with getting good with the alternative energy, which we will do once Bernie Sanders gets elected. So yeah, now we're the transition from television economy to YouTube economy is in high gear right now. I mean, the bleed over is probably at its probably beginning now, but it's at its beginning, of at its absolute maximum. Or maybe, yeah, probably at its absolute maximum right now. I've noticed on YouTube there's a whole lot more YouTube channels, because I haven't really been looking at YouTube over the last few years. I watched a lot of YouTube 2008, 2009, and then I guess, yeah, even up through 2011 and stuff, and 12, yeah, from 13 on, I've kind of been working on my website, not doing it. But then I kind of look around more recently a little bit, and yeah, there's all these new video channels and stuff, and all kinds of channel videos on everything, tutorials and stuff, and so yeah, like television can't hang on much longer. Like in 4 years, television's going to be done, pretty much. You know, like in the presidential election, nobody's going to give a fuck about the television. Yeah, so that's kind of like the beginning of the transfer. More, yeah, people's education is going to be more focused towards specific technical stuff, and aiding, you know, the automation of everything. And I think as far as money, I think we're gonna not worry so much about people aren't gonna worry so much about making money because it's going to become common knowledge to everybody. And starting in the first world countries, that richness, you know, and wealth really means, you know, because people can travel around so easily. It really is your access to nice natural places, and to feel safe around where you are. And so that basically means to be, you know, rich for everybody. And people aren't going to want to be hanging out in their houses and twiddling their thumbs with all their stuff. And so I don't think people are going to be hungry for, you know, having money and stuff, because one reason that people like to hoard money, rich people like to make all these laws to make rich richer, is out of fear, to try to hoard for their family and their relatives and all this kind of stuff. But once people chill out and they can know that, you know, it'll be okay for their relatives, then people won't hoard so much. And I think the days of hoarding are going to be done pretty soon, and we can throw that money back into circulation. And you know, bike school, I think, is a really good. There's lots of experimental educational stuff going on with the new technology, I'm sure, right now. And one good thing is my idea of bike school. It's getting the maximum amount of benefit from the minimum amount of money. So the maximum amount of benefit would be to make your kids like omniscient. Okay. I remember I was listening to talking about the medieval city in a book recently, and they're saying that the bards who would travel around and entertain people at the courts and in the fairs and stuff, storytellers, they had to know 750 stories by heart. And I think that's entirely possible for us nowadays. You could learn 1,000 stories by heart of the most important historical stories and basically know all of history, memorize all of history. And if you can have a nation full of people who have all of history memorized, then I mean, we can do whatever we want. We'd be like gods on the earth, you know. And then if you mix that, I mean, you can make that possible by just knowing people live a long time. And then you just you increase the amount of information that can get percolate into people's heads by making it so that they're always paying attention and being interested while they're paying attention. And the best way to do that is by mixing listening to the stories with riding your bike, because riding your bike is the perfect situation to be in to pay attention, because you're not concentrating. You're concentrating just enough on the outside world, but you have the perfect amount of concentration in here to listen to what you want to listen to. And your blood's pumping, and so your brain's working, and yet it spends no money because it uses no resources whatsoever. You don't need a building. You don't need an infrastructure. You don't need gas or nothing. All you need is a bike. That's it. Who needs a bike? And a whole lot of food. But, you know, food. Oh, as far as the economy of food, you know, I'm going to do a video just after this, which is a video that another redo video from Andy Sullivan. He wanted to talk about jobs and stuff, and he had me watch a video, and the guy was talking about future jobs, and one of the future jobs that the guy had in the video was, you know, farmers in the future. And I've been talking about this for years, but yeah, our farming in the future is going to be aeroponic skyscrapers. There's this company called I think Aeroflow right here in Boulder, and they can grow stuff 5 times faster with the aeroponics than with the best dirt, and it grows even bigger. And all you need is like these phosphorus tablets, you know. And people are like, "Oh, where's the phosphorus for growing stuff?" You know, you can recycle the phosphorus when you're doing in these big buildings. You know, you're not losing anything, and also you can keep the bugs out. in the hermetically sealed big buildings, so you don't have to use any pesticides. And yeah, you just use the lighting that they have, those like fluorescent lights that grows the plant. The roots dangle in the mist, and you know, you could even grow plants that way, you know, like flowers that way. And then you could have like fans blow the fragrance out throughout the city, you know, and let the natural current of the city take the fragrance of the plant from the aeroponic skyscraper from the levels of the flower levels. But yeah, you can grow everything, you know, and with these big buildings, you can grow big apple trees or whatever, you know, aeroponically. And so that'll be really, really cheap because it's all contained in the building, and it's all, you can automate it. And yeah, so that's a cool job. And I'll include that in the other video though. But I guess I'll include it in this video. And then there was another one like airport or elevator attendant for the building that goes way up into space. That guy, he skydived from 120,000 feet from the balloon, and you know, so it's pretty much from there, the gravity is not that much. You know, you could build a building that high, and then a big old slingshot, and you wouldn't use any energy at all to get to the moon. Then you could bring back the moon dust, hydrogen dust, that could power America and the world for free, you know, the rest of the time. So that'd be another way if we don't have anti-gravity. The other guy was talking about jobs. It was like all these, you know, the biomedical field, DNA tampering. You know what? I think I'm going to include Andy Sullivan and Martin Cruz's videos in the same, because those guys are friends, and both of the requests for 7 months ago. So let's read Andy Sullivan's. I did this before. I did these in 2 separate videos, but I'm going to do it in the same video now. Hey, Kala, how are you? Next video is, can you please talk about jobs careers would be like in your opinion, let's say 25 to 55 years time, in that range. This is a must see of the video. Top 10 new jobs. Thank you and have a nice day. Okay, so yeah, the new jobs. DNA tampering. You can fuck up your DNA over the course of generations. I saw this video recently. You know, like when the mother smokes, the kid's going to have asthma because the kid's in utero is being told by the mother that she's growing up in a toxic environment. So that so the kid's being trained to be born with an hyper-autoimmune response, which is asthma. And so a lot of people are being grown in toxic environment now. We live in a very toxic environment. A lot of people are getting cancer and stuff, and so babies are probably being born with a little bit of autoimmune response, which you cause, you know, a lot of people with asthma. Maybe that has a little bit to do with autism. Autism is connected with chemicals and toxicity. Yeah, and so that kind of stuff can get actually like passed down in your genes. You know, like for example, the smoking. If both the parents smoke, you have even more chance of getting asthma. And if people or Native Americans are born and are moved to the reservation, and they're fed less nutrients, their faces start to get deformed, and you're just not as healthy. If you have rats being fed with like condensed milk, they get deformed after the second generation. Or cats, they get deformed after the second generation, and then they can't have babies after like the third generation. They go crazy, do crazy things, and they can't have babies after like the fourth generation. They die out and stuff. So it's kind of gets passed on through the genes. And so maybe in the future, you know, we can do gene manipulation to fix all the bugs that we've been passing down over the last couple of generations. Fix the genetics so we can pass on good genetics, and maybe even bad genes that we've collected over the last hundreds of thousands of years. I don't know, like karma genes, you know, fix bad karma in our DNA with gene tampering, and also training, you know, like for maximizing physical potential, and then the all kinds of educational stuff, conversation, like YouTube channels, conversational type of stuff to argue about. Validity of stuff, like what should we value in terms of athletes, what kind of technology people are allowed to use to make yourself better. When are we gonna do the DNA, the cloning? That's gonna happen pretty soon. Okay, anyways, let's go. Jobs and careers. Yeah, now, as far as the whole job / career thing, I think in the future, it'll be a lot less career oriented. In the past, you would do what your parents did and your parents' did. It was built into your name. You'd have, I'm John Smith, or I'm Billy Joe Taylor. I'm Johnson Carpenter. I'm Jim Farmer. People with their last names, because that's what they did. And then as we get more and more in the future, stuff opens up, and your different personality can dictate what you're going to do in your life. And so people now, so it would go from careers being passed on to kids having their own career, and then for their entire life, and then that switches to, I think now it's an average of 4 careers that people would have throughout their life. And so then, in the future, it'd be even less. So you could be a tour guide for a few years, or even a doctor for a few years, a reporter for a few years. And then if people can switch out jobs, then we would be able to have less wealth discrepancy, because we would all value the job the same, and we would all, so payment would be the same. And we would, value each other and respect each other when we all understand each other's jobs. Because what a job is and a career, it's something that when you practice it, you get really good at it, and then you're in the zone and you're doing it, and less so of something that you just studied so much because you learned it, because any job you can just, it's not like the responsibilities are so wide ranging that you're just going to get better and better each year you do it for the rest of your life. No, after like a year, you're as good as you will ever be on most jobs. And so people, and because people can experience and enjoy life vicariously, so you don't actually have to be doing something to be enjoying it, So it doesn't have to be this whole like competition, like everybody crowding in on one thing, You would, like, if there's mountain bikers here in Boulder, you have to go, oh no, everybody's going to want to mountain bike in Boulder. People will come here and they'll do it for a little bit, and then they'll burn out on it, and then they'll move off somewhere else and do something else for a little bit. And then, until they watch enough YouTube videos about some other thing to do, and then they go and do that. And so, instead of the secret to pollution is dilution. So the secret to keeping stuff from getting crowded out is just to make it so that expand your little magic to the whole world. And so, because there's lots of different ways to experience the planet and to enjoy. You don't have to just have it just in one place. Because that's kind of what people think now, people are voting for Trump because they're afraid all the third world is going to come here, because this is always going to be the best place, and because we're the best people, and nah. But in the future, the places where these people are running from are the best places. They have the most history, and if you wanted to recreate the past and the ancient trade routes and stuff for bike touring or whatever, that's the best place to do it, because that's where they actually did it. So, my point is, in the future, I don't think it has to be this scarcity thing. You can have as much as you want. And also in countries, when they get first world, they start to have less babies anyway, because people just want to live their own lives, and so there's less of a population crunch. And then it helps mix the pot. People are afraid of ethnic people because ethnic people are stupid, and it's gonna come to light pretty soon. I mean, in the last few months, Indians have been, I've noticed, it's crazy. It blew up. All of a sudden, all of the Indians have computers, and so, Indians love movies, and so now they're uploading YouTube videos. So you type a video, and it's all Indian videos, but Indians are uneducated, So if you watch an Indian video, I clicked on one Indian video, and the lady wasn't even speaking English, and she looked like she was inbred or something. She's like, habba dabba dabba dabba, habba dabba dabba dabba. I mean, fucking dude. Yeah, these like Indians, even the ones who speak English, are going to be up there and be like, "How many my nama boo 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 boo," and they're going to be boring and dumb. It's kind of like you're talking to when you get on the phone tech support and you get an Indian, you roll your eyes because you know Indians are like they're dumb. They can't help you, and you know that's the thing. I mean, there's a point to this. I'm not just being. I don't want to sound racist, but there's a way out of this whole crunch that people are freaking out about with Donald, you know, Donald Trump-ites are freaking out about. They think that the third worlders are going to come here and take over the world. Well, there's this thing called meritocracy. How can third worlders come and take over the world if they're not as good as you? You know, if they come here, they'll just be relegated off into their little hovels, you know. And so anyway, I think that's a great way to bring the third world people up, because then the Indians and stuff, and they finally start doing videos and talking nonsense. Nobody's going to watch that, and then they go, oh man, because like here, like there's like Chile. Chile's kind of like one of those countries. I lived in Chile for 5 years, and my wife's Chilean, and I was hanging out at like one of my friends' parties, and there was a Chilean kid there, and he'd been to school in America, and he's like, those American kids though, they don't like to hang out with us, like they think they're better than us and stuff, and like when I was in Chile, I remember, and I didn't really notice it when I was there, but I thought about it and I realized it more as I was there, and even after I left, even 10 years after I left, I started to realize it, that Chileans don't like Americans. At the time, I thought it was because they're just assholes and they're just grumpy people, and that's true. They are just grumpy people. But I think it's also that they don't like Americans, and I think one reason that they don't like Americans is they don't like how Americans think they're better than you. You know, like even if they are better than you, you know, there could be like a kind of people they're smarter than you because they have a better, more educated background, and so then they don't want to hang out with you because they're more refined, or they think they're more refined. And so then that makes you angry with them because you know that they're not better than you. And so it's kind of like a negative feedback. And so that's what you would get with the YouTube. Like the Indians would upload video, for example, YouTube video. And then they would see how they're dumb, they're uneducated, and they're not interesting. And so then they would initially get angry for people for thinking, because they think they're interesting, but then other people think that they're not. But then they'd realize that they're actually not interesting, and so then that would spur them and motivate them to you know, to open their minds and study more and kind of mimic, I guess, the first world people more. And that's how culturally the third world, I think, can catch up to the first world. You know, you just throw everybody all the fish in the same tank together and let them swim, and you do not be afraid of, you know, these dirty little third world or dark skinned people, because if they're not as awesome as you, right, then why be afraid of them? They can't beat you. All they're going to do is increase the pool of you being the top of, you know. I mean, people with big egos, like, don't you want to be on the top? You can't be on the top of the heap of everybody if aren't a bunch of people below you, you know. Now, that's not how I think. I don't pay attention to the rest of the world, but that's how other people think. And so that's how, you know, so when people, I'm addressing like Trumpites here. Trumpites, you know, you're afraid of yourself. You're afraid that for yourself that you know, the blackies or whatever are going to come in and undercut you. But how are they going to undercut you if they do a crappy job? They're going to have to charge less than you because their jobs aren't as good, and you'll still be on top. And it's, you know, it's kind of like England. You know, England has always been the best place to live because of the weather. It rains, it's warm up there, even though it's north, because of the Gulf Stream. And it's always been a mixture of cultures, which makes it a good place. And so, when English people, they get all freaked out that Muslims are coming. Well, instead of getting freaked out and pissed off that bad people are coming, why don't you be happy that you're one of the best people in the best place to live? You know, and so you're not really going to get dislodged. You'll just get pushed in a little bit. So it's not really, so, you know, the transition, I think it's an important topic, the transition, because when you're talking about the economy of the future, it kind of goes hand in hand with the culture of the future. And you have to talk about how you're gonna incorporate third world into the first world, because there's so much, it's just so different, and so there's a lot of friction. You know, there's a dichotomy, or like a paradox to this whole thing, because if you the whole thing that makes a third world country is that they're closed-minded. Yet the thing that makes people actually accomplish and become a good country is the open-mindedness. And so there has to come a point where the closed-minded people realize that you know, they have to kind of do a 180 and become open-minded, and to open up and move forward. And yeah, and that happens by it's the most beautiful expression of the meritocracy. You know, might makes right in the new world, the survival of the fittest. You know, it's the business world of people are going to watch the videos that are the best. You know, that kind of a thing. So yeah, 25 to 55 years. So that would be like a generation. A generation would be 33 years. So yeah, in the next generation. Okay, so let's move on to Annie Sullivan, jobs and careers. Yeah, I think 25 to 55 years it'll be focused on trying to improve the physical, exploring the DNA, revamping DNA, fixing the physical body, you know, growing organs in vitro, trying to make that affordable. The whole organ in vitro thing, that's probably the next stressful thing, is, you know, people with money being able to actually live longer. But then, you know, maybe the thing that'll get us out of that is when we all, as a society, you know, just like how we stop thinking that being rich makes you better. It's just living in a free place makes you better, have a higher quality of life. And so then living your life fully gives you a high quality of life. And so if you're just going to live a long time, and that'll kind of make you just kind of like boring. And, you know, that's like not the goal. Like, people won't be afraid of dying, I guess, because they'll believe in reincarnation. And so it won't, and so then people will be more open, and then so you can share, and then we'll all be able to live as long as we want. Yes. So I think I've babbled on enough about that. Let's take care of this video. Ooh, a half hour.